Thank you very much, Christian. Welcome to all to be on that morning call. Hope everything technically is well. You hear us. So first of all, I wanted to say that there has never been a better time to invest in France. It's not me saying it. It's the Financial Times. If I can have the following slide. Sorry. So the Financial Times never lies, so there's never been a better time to invest in France. In the recent past, business newspapers, international organizations, and economists have praised the fast pace of reforms in France. For instance, according to the FT, there's never been a better time to invest in France. Many CEOs, you've got 2 years of two major companies, Novartis and Google, CEOs from leading innovative companies are very satisfied with their investment in France, and particularly thrilled about the skills and talents they can find on the French labor market. We can see on the following slide that France offers the highest standards for business operations. And before going into the details of the reform agenda, we wanted to stress that the business environment has actually always been attractive on the 4 dimensions that are key for business operations. I'm sure you'll agree with me, which are infrastructure, human capital, financing, of course, and the ecosystem for innovation. Foreign investors are benefiting from great condition. First of all, it is well known that the human capital endowment and the quality of the research system are of the highest standards in France. Our research institutions are ranked 3rd in the world by the WEF, while France has the highest density of researchers among G7 economies. Companies unanimously praise the quality of our labor force and the availability of skills, with, for instance, around 1 million engineers in the territory. And as you know, French engineers are you see a lot in France, but all over the world as well. Many of you have traveled to lots of places in the world. The 2020 Shanghai ranking illustrates my point. France is a 3rd position behind USA and UK, with 3 universities, Paris-Saclay University, Paris Sciences, and Sorbonne universities in the top 50. Even if we know that lots of things can be said about ranking, but on one day, Christian might give you a speech about that. On the second, the same can be said about the quality of infrastructure, which is paramount for businesses. It's ranked in the top 10 by still the WEF. Electricity prices, it's something which has been going on for a while, thanks to our nuclear efforts the past 30, 40 years. Electricity prices are moreover very competitive, on logistic services as well, very efficient. What is maybe less known is that France is ranked 1st by the World Bank regarding the ease of trading across borders. I think it's something which needed to be stressed. Third of all, investors in France also benefit from a very strong financial sector. The Paris Financial Center ranks 1st in continental Europe in terms of stock market capitalization and for asset management, not to mention life insurance. France is also a global leader in sustainable finance, which is very important today, ranked 2nd in the world regarding green finance quality. And with what's happening as well with the Brexit and maybe the financial place of London might suffer, France might reinforce its position. Last but not least, 4th, the innovation ecosystem is extremely favorable. France benefits from the highest number of fast-growing tech companies in Europe and is now ranked 1st with respect to venture capital funds raised. The largest startups incubator in the world, Station F, is located in Paris. And if you haven't been there, I think it will be like important for you to see. It's like a big like bees everywhere. So I think that's what we could say. And now, Christian, maybe you can go into more details about all those initiatives taken by the French government over the past years. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Florent. Yes, next slide, please. Thank you. Building on the strengths that Florent just mentioned, the French government has put in place an impressive number of reforms over the recent past. It's not me who says, but the Financial Times say that reforms have been implemented at a rate never seen before. Basically, these reforms are designed around 4 main objectives. First objective was to increase flexibility of the labor market. As you may well aware, we have these strengths that Florent emphasized, but we heard from time to time criticisms about the so-called eventual rigidity of the labor market. This is not true anymore, thanks to very ambitious reforms on making it more flexible and easier for companies to implement redundancies. For example, for instance, litigation has become more predictable. We have put a ceiling on costs that companies may incur in case of layoffs, and a time limit for appeals to 1 year. At the same time, the cost of labor has been reduced drastically, thanks to reductions of the social security contributions. Finally, negotiation on working time has been easier to implement at the firm level. That's objective number one, the labor market. Objective number two, human capital, training. And it is interesting to note that for this reform, we were looking at what Switzerland is doing, or the apprenticeship system in Switzerland is working, and we included some of the good ideas in our reforms. Basically, there are a lot of investment, 15 billion of public money in development of professional skills for 5 years, and the role of companies in the apprenticeship system has been increased. They can directly put in place their own programs for apprenticeships, and they will participate more actively in the assessment of these programs. Third pillar, taxations. That's a very important pillar for all of you. And here the news are very good. The tax rate for corporate has been reduced steadily from 2018, and the objective is to reach 20% for the maximum tax rate, corporate tax rate in 2022. Also, a very interesting reform that could be of interest for you. We have a very generous package for expats, so French citizens relocating in France, or expat coming to work in France in the high-skilled range of labor, and they could benefit from a sharp reduction of the repatriation bonuses, for example, and capital revenues. Fourth pillar, and this is also of interest for you, the stimulation of growth for startups, scale-ups, and small businesses. There have been a lot of deregulation that were put in place. Just to name one, we have removed a lot of thresholds that were applied to companies for social and tax obligations. Before there were 8 thresholds, now there are only 3, 11, 50, and 250 employees. And also, but our colleague from the BPI will go more into details into that. We have improved dramatically the funding for startups and for disruptive technology, and we have put in place a 10 billion fund for disruptive technology. Basically, that's the philosophy of the reform package. Just to illustrate what's happening on the corporate tax rate, I already mentioned it. You have a steady reduction in the maximum tax rate for business. And as you see, the rate of decrease is faster for smaller companies and a little bit slower for big corporates. On tax, I will finally mention one scheme that is very interesting for you. It's research tax credit, one of the most advantageous R&D tax credits regimes globally. If you could put the slide, Antoine, thank you. Next one, yes. So what is this R&D tax credit scheme? It is a tax credit that can reach 100 millions, and you can deduce 30% of your corporate tax. And any surplus can be applied against corporate tax rate over the next 3 years. And tax credit that remains unused after these 3 years is refunded. So it's very generous. It's the OECD that say it. It's also KPMG, who I quote, the French R&D tax credit is viewed as being one of the most advantageous R&D tax credit regimes globally. So on the tax issue, we made a lot of improvement, and now we can say that the framework for company is really good. One last word, and a slide back, previous slide, on the venture capital investment. This was also maybe a criticism that were addressed to France 10, 15, 20 years ago, that capital for tech companies, for startups, was scarce. Well, this is absolutely not the case anymore. Now France ranks around the top European countries with regard to venture capital. Here you have the share of venture capital as a percentage of GDP. As you see, France is ranking ahead of Germany and Switzerland in terms of venture capital as a percentage of GDP. And just to give a number, venture capital investments in France was around 800 millions in 2014. And now, last year, 2019, it was almost 2.5 billions. So it was multiplied by 3 in 5 years. Very impressive result. Just to conclude, all these good developments allowed the ecosystem of startups and tech companies to develop very fast. And just this slide illustrates a number of companies that you may know from the Next 40 and other scale-ups that emerged over the recent past, and are really leaders in their fields. That's for my presentation. Thank you. If you have questions, don't hesitate to use the chat. We'll come back to you and answer them. But before that, I just give the floor back to Florent to explain what Business France can do to help you doing your operations in France, if you're interested in.
Thank you very much, Christian. Just briefly, what is Business France? So how we can help you? We've got 35 participants, so we're quite happy with the numbers. Thank you very much for everybody to be there again. So in one word, Business France is a French government agency in charge of making your new business in France a success. If you're a Swiss investor on your project, we can help you with a new investment site, an expansion. Either you have a new investment site in mind, expansion of an existing site, technological partnership, acquisition of financial investment, startups, VCs, aiding businesses, etc., or relocation of your staff. We're there to help you. Next. So what can we do for your project? And what can we do is we've got online, and I wanted to say hello to Stéphane Lapeur and Johan Anifo, which are two main people on the ground, which can meet you either physically or through some video conferences anytime you want. So for your project, we can give you assistance for market information. We offer on visits of available sites, offices, of course in France, together with local regions, assistance for legal and administrative procedures, recruitment of new employees, and it is very important, interface between the French regions on your company, for example, with Auvergne-Rhône-Alpes region, Bourgogne-Franche-Comté, PACA, and Nouvelle-Aquitaine, all over France. We've got the right contacts at the regional level, and we can help you through all the administrative that Christian has described earlier on. Next. So if you want to speak in confidentiality about your project, you can speak to Stéphane Lapeur. He's a German speaking based in Switzerland and looking more around the Zurich area. And Johanna, looks more around the Geneva, Lausanne area. So we're there for you.
Florent, I'm looking at Basel, St. Gallen, and the Italian-speaking part as well.
Thank you, Stéphane, for the precision. Finish with us.